Jesse Foster welcomes you to Father Nation, where other dads illuminate your path to become a better father. Prepare to enter into the man cave.
And welcome to Father Nation. This is your host, Jesse Foster. And today on the show, I'm excited to have Aaron Walker. Aaron, he's a dad of 2 daughters. His website is www.viewfromthetop.com. He's kind of known as a life coach and businessman, but he's also into mentorship and leadership. And we'll talk more about his businesses and kind of what it means to live a significant and successful life here on this podcast as we talk about fatherhood as well. Here at Father Nation, we usually talk about the personal experiences of dads as they share their wisdom and experiences with you on their fatherhood journey, and let their journey illuminate your path. So let's get down to it here, Aaron. As we begin the show, let's kind of hear a little more about you and maybe what you're about, Aaron. Like what is your life philosophy? Maybe as a first question I can ask you.
Well, thanks, Jesse. Man, thank you for having me on your show. This is an honor to be on Father Nation today, and I do have 2 daughters, and I'm absolutely excited to be your guest, so thank you, first of all. I guess it would be beneficial to your audience a little bit to give my background, if that's okay, and that'll give you a little better perspective of where I'm coming from as far as my life philosophy goes.
Yeah, go for it.
I started in business early. At 18 years old, I opened a pawn shop here in Nashville. Was very successful. We opened 4 additional stores by the time I was 27. I retired, had enough money, to kind of hang out. And Jesse, it was one of the best benefits of my life, simultaneously with being possibly one of the biggest failures of my life, because I didn't have any purpose, didn't have any meaning, after I was 27 years old. I had no reason to get up each and every day. And that's where the answer to your question comes from, is that I feel like that each of us need to have purpose, and meaning is the reason we get up each and every day. To be a great father, I needed to pour into my daughters, and I needed to give them a reason to excel in life. And so my answer would be to your question, have a great amount of purpose and meaning to get up each and every day.
Yeah, we all need a meaning and a reason to get up every day, for sure. It seems like as a young man at 27, if you had kind of financially things taken care of, it sounds like, what did kind of get you up then? What does get you up now?
Well, after I was 27 years old, my wife woke me up one day in the middle of the day. I was taking a nap, which was really unusual for me. And she said, I don't understand this. You've got no energy, you've got no motivation, you've got no reason to get up each and every day and do something. What's the deal? I said, well, I'm depressed, because I don't have any purpose. I don't have any reason to get up. And I went back and went in the pawn shop business with the guy I started with when I was 13 years old. I bought 50% of his store, and we spent the next 10 years developing a fantastic business out of the existing business that we already had. We grew it to 4 times the size that it was. And then August the 1st, 2001, Jesse, I was driving to the office, and a pedestrian was crossing the street, and unfortunately didn't look my way, stepped out in front of me, and I ran over the pedestrian. It rocked my world. And got out of the car. My hand was shaking so bad I couldn't even dial 911. And, this guy was laying face down in the street, and I was praying, Lord, please let him be okay. And my whole world kind of stood still for a moment. I had been chasing success my entire life. I had successful businesses. But at that moment, I was thinking, that could have happened to me just as easy as it could that guy. We've got to live each and every day to have meaning, to have purpose. So I went back, and Robin and I discussed it, and we decided to retire, to sell out, because we'd been chasing money, half of our adult life. And I discovered through that process that I had had success, but I really didn't have any significance. And so that's kind of what put me on this journey now, each and every day, getting up, helping ordinary men become extraordinary in their achievements, their goals. I help people obtain the things that they want to get out of life. and that's what gets me up each and every day.
That sounds quite traumatic. As far as hitting someone in the street, how long did it take you to get over that, and how did you get over something like that, or are you even, can you say, over it?
Yeah, well, first of all, you don't get over killing somebody. I'm a Christ follower, so with my faith, God has helped me to be able to deal with it. I'm able to go through the process and just deal with it. That's what God's grace is about. He gives us the ability to deal with things. But I took off 5 years, Jesse, to answer your question. I didn't work. I didn't do anything for about a 5-year period. Robin and I traveled extensively, and I just needed to get away and kind of refocus. And after that 5-year period, I was able to better deal with it and started a construction company, and we grew that to number one 3 consecutive years over an 8-year period.
I'd be curious, Aaron, as to how old were your daughters at this time when this event happened? And kind of as a dad, how did you share this with your family, and how did you deal with it as a dad?
Yeah, when the day it actually happened, my daughters were in Florida with my wife on a mission trip, and they were teenagers at the time. One of them was born in 83 and one was born in 86, and this was in 2001. And so they were, 17, 18 years old, 16 years old. And, they were very comforting because they were in their teenage years, and so they weren't real small children. They were able to deal with it and help me work through it. They were very compassionate. Even today, I could talk about this a lot on interviews, and they're still compassionate because, you just don't talk about this flippantly. It's not something that it's like it's a part of my story, but it's a very integral part of my story, and it kind of changed the paradigm shift of my life to not only focus inward, but to focus outward and to help people reach their goals and their dreams and not be focused on just mine.
So it sounds like, kind of to a little bit summarize, like before all this happened, you were searching for success and significance kind of through mainly financial means, if I may say that?
Well, I was focusing for success. At that time, significance didn't have a lot to do with it because I was primarily focused on myself. And even in my early business life, all the success that I was trying to accomplish was so I could get a bigger house and I could buy a vacation home and have nicer cars and take bigger trips. You know how it is, Jesse, the bigger, the better, the shinier, we think is better for us. And I found out through this process that those things really don't scratch the itch like you think they're going to. You always live your life, if I could have this, things would be better. If I could make $10,000 more or $20,000 more, then things would be better. And we always live in the moment of when I get over there, things will be better. And my challenge and my help to people today is to not think that it's going to be better when I get over there, but enjoy today. Eckhart Tolle wrote a great book, Enjoy the Now. And we need to be enjoying this conversation that Jesse and I are engaged in right now, not be thinking about this afternoon or tomorrow or the next guest or the next interview. It's really diving deep and engaging in this conversation, enjoying this process today, because I want people to learn to be content without being complacent. And what I mean by that is enjoy and be happy today in your present situation, because happiness is a choice, it's not a trait. And I want you to choose to be happy today.
Yeah, that kind of mindset reminds me of a quote I recently read. I think it was by Grant Cardone. He said something about how, the common phrase is how the grass is always greener on the other side, but that often maybe because the grass isn't green here is because we're not actually cultivating our own garden. We're always focused on someone else's garden, maybe further away. And we need to focus on where we are now and just enjoy it rather than always be looking somewhere else.
Well, the thing with that is it's not always greener on the other side, because the social media platforms that we have today are only showing the good things, right? You only tweet out positive things. You don't tweet out that you're struggling financially. You don't tweet out that there's a strained relationship. You don't tweet out that you have a child that's needing disciplinary measures on a daily basis. You don't tweet those things out. We don't show the pictures when we're arguing with our mate, and we don't show the pictures of the credit cards that we can't pay, and we don't tweet out those things. And so the depiction that social media has described is things are better on the other side, and that's not the case.
Again, Father Nation, right now you're listening to Aaron Walker. His website is viewfromthetop.com. And Aaron, kind of turning the corner from what you described as your journey a little bit, talking about mentorship. You're talking about maybe you're kind of focused on getting more money, more success for yourself, but then that traumatic event happened, and you kind of turn more outward towards other people and more significance. And I imagine mentorship kind of plays a big part in that. Is that right?
Well, without a question, Jesse, I've been in accountability groups and mastermind groups now for almost 3 decades. And I know that the accountability of striving for personal development, for treating your spouse good, for treating your children good, having a mentor to show you, because we don't know what we don't know. And a lot of the times I'll hire a coach in various things. I've recently hired a coach in LinkedIn. I've hired a personal development coach. I've hired coaches physically. These people are mentors, if you will, in regards to some specific topic that I'm trying to accomplish. I'm looking for a Twitter coach right now. I know I could learn it on my own, but I'd rather pay a little bit of money and let them take me to the next level a little faster. And so that's what mentors do. If we are willing to subject ourselves to open scrutiny of the counsel of the multitudes, people that we trust, people that are in our sphere of influence, people that know us well, the trusted advisors that we could have. Jesse, I've been involved now for a couple of decades in a mastermind group, and Dave Ramsey is in that group, Dan Miller, 48 Days to the Work You Love, Ken Abraham, some real notable Nashvillians that have been in this group. And they weren't who they are today then. Obviously, they were just starting their businesses, but we grew our businesses together, and the way we were able to accomplish that is that we were willing to subject ourselves to that scrutiny. It's like, should I do more of this or less of that? Should I go down this path or should I go down that path? And we were able to lay ourselves out there for people that knew better, possibly, or there was a general consensus of the group, and that will take you to the next level successfully.
I was very surprised to learn that you actively mentor 11 different individuals every week. Like, how do you manage the time with that?
Well, you got to be very proactive in your scheduling, and I break that up over a period of days. And then I try to allow a little bit of rest between those. I allow time to study and research. We do what's called a progress report. And each and every week after I coach someone, I require that they send me a progress report on the 3 things that they accomplished the week prior, the 3 things they were supposed to do that they didn't, and the 3 topics they want to talk about the following week. And this is due 48 hours prior to our next coaching session. And so it gives me a couple of days for each client to go through and process and do whatever research I need to do in order to help coach them. So it's just being very disciplined on my scheduling.
Do you see a lot of parallels between fatherhood and mentorship?
Oh, without a question. Being a great mentor to your children is absolutely essential. That's what we're doing. We're mentoring our children each and every day. And I know there's a lot of areas that if I could go back, I'm certain that I would do things differently. There are some things that I did well that my adult children tell me now that I did. But, you know, as I stated earlier, you don't know what you don't know. That's the reason we as individuals, regardless of your place and position in life, we need mentors to coach us so that we can pass that down to the next generation.
Again, Father Nation, head on over to viewfromthetop.com to learn more about Aaron Walker and his life and his business. And Aaron, tell us more about that website, actually, viewfromthetop.com. What is the purpose for your website?
Well, as I said, I'm a life and business coach, and so I coach men. That's my niche market. I don't coach women. I have what's called the community, where men from all over the world gather on a weekly basis in a forum. It's a closed group. It's similar to Facebook, but it's just a closed site called Ning, N-I-N-G is the site's name. And we come together and we share resources, accountability, we empower, we encourage one another. And then every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Central Time, I do a live webinar where I do a question and answer. We break down things that need to be talked about for the week. I answer questions from the group, from the men that are all over the world. We have Iron Sharpens Iron mastermind groups where on a site called Zoom, it's an internet conference room, 10 men come together at a designated time each week. I have 3 of those groups that I facilitate personally. And then I have multi-level opportunities to coach with me one-on-one. We have what's called Base Camp. It's just individual coaching for individuals. We have Scaling the Cliff. It's all kind of a mountain theme. It's about getting a view from the top, which is primarily business and personal, because I want to coach you in a holistic view. I don't want you to be successful financially, but you do it at the expense of your family. I'm really big on family, and I want you guys to do well at home as well as at work. And then we have what's called the Summit for businesses that are larger.
Again, so Father Nation, if you're a dad that's interested in any of that, go to viewfromthetop.com. And Aaron, let's talk more about kind of your personal experiences as a dad. And often here at Father Nation, we kind of talk about a daddy dud, a time in the past as a dad when you've made a mistake as a dad, but maybe something you've learned. Can you recall such a time?
Yeah, I remember once it was in relationship to what we watch. And we're very careful, about what we bring into our home, whether it be the internet or whether it be movies or the movies that we go out. And we were watching a movie, and I don't remember the rating of the movie. Maybe it was R. And our teenage daughters, young teenage daughters were sitting in the room. This movie came on, and there was this kind of scene that was suggestive in the movie. And I suggested to the girls that they go out of the room till the scene was over. And they said, "Dad, we know what's going on." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "But I'm not, we're Christians in my house." And I said, "I'm not sure how the Lord would be pleased with you watching this movie." And she said, "Well, how pleased is he with you watching this movie?" And I thought, man, what a profound statement. I went over, turned the movie off, and I said, "Listen, you got a deal. From this day forward, we will never watch an inappropriate movie. We will never watch a movie that we can't watch together as a family." And I think that really solidified our family, and it showed our daughters that we're being congruent on every decision, and that we were doing things not just as we said, but as we do. And so I think it's important that your yes be yes, your no be no, and the things that you say for your children should do, you should do as an adult. So that was a time that we made that commitment, and now we're 20 years past that, and we still exercise that in our home.
That's great, to lead by example. And if your kid ever calls you out as being a hypocrite in some way, you're doing something wrong. You got to fix that. So that was good job of you to actually stand up and do that. Aaron, how about a habit that makes you a better dad?
Well, over the years, I was in retail for 27 years, and there was a season, the fall season was real big for us because Christmas was a big season. I had to work a lot. And so I didn't get to see my kids much during that season. And we had a vacation home in the mountains, and we would go there the day after Christmas, and we'd always spend a week at this vacation home. And I was so wore out, I slept a lot because I was so tired. But invariably, I would get the kids together, and we would do this over a several-hour period. I'd say, let's pretend, if we could, that I'm not your dad. You're not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to take anything away from you, any privileges. You're not going to get a spanking. I want to know where I've dropped the ball. I want to know areas that I could serve you better as your dad. I want you to be blatantly honest. After this conversation, it'll be over, but I want to know what I could do better to do as your dad. And it became a habit, and we did that. Listen, Jesse, don't ask your kids that question unless you really want to know, because they're going to tell you. And they did. They were able to tell me places that they felt like I was unfair, places that I could have done better. And then they also gave me words of affirmation as to where I really excelled. So that was a really good exercise for our family, and it paid big dividends.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought. I haven't heard that before, of actually going to your kids as straight to the source as to how to be a better dad. It's always a good idea to maybe ask your kids. You'll get an honest answer probably.
Who better to ask than the person you're serving?
Exactly. I guess we go for advice for all these different places, but then actually we don't actually go to advice to our own kids. I've asked many dads that question. You're the first dad, I think, to answer that way. Aaron, how about a resource, though? Another resource that's helped you with your kids, whether it be a book or a seminar or maybe something else that has maybe made you think differently about fatherhood.
You know, here's the thing that's a very uncomfortable topic to talk about with dads, but especially dads with daughters, and I have 2 daughters. I was always very, very honest with my girls, and when age appropriate, I would have very difficult conversations with my daughters. And when the daughters started getting at an age where they were thinking about guys and they wanted to date, or they were starting to notice guys, when we would go on vacation, I would take the daughters individually and we'd take a walk down the beach. And I would say, Brooke or Holly, whichever one I was talking to, I'd say, yeah, I know you're noticing guys now, that's cool. And they would giggle and they'd say, Dad, I don't want to talk about this. And I said, no, really, it's good. That's the way it's intended. It's supposed to be that way. But you're a girl and I'm a guy. And there's no guy on the planet going to talk to you about some of the things that we're about to talk about but me. You can get false information from guys, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And one of the things we're going to talk about is sex, and we're going to talk about clothing, and I want you to know. And I said, you put certain clothes on and you think it's cute, but that's not what guys are thinking. And here's what guys are thinking. And it was embarrassing, and they didn't want to talk about it. But the truth is, Jesse, no other man is going to tell your daughter that but you. And I want you to not giggle and not be silly about it, but tell them the truth, because it's real life questions. And then I would give the girls permission. If there's something you're curious about, I want you to ask me. It may be embarrassing for me. It may be uncomfortable for me, but I want to tell you the truth. I don't want you to go out there in the world and some goofy little teenager answer your question that's inaccurate. And so I really made it comfortable for my daughters to ask me questions. And there was a book called Every Man's Battle. And I required that both of my girls read that book, because men really have problem with lust of the eyes. And the way women dress and act and say and the things they do can affect that. And I wanted my girls to be equipped. And so I required they read that book. My youngest daughter went home, took the clothes out of her closet, and gave them to Goodwill. She said, if these are the clothes that this book is referring to, I don't want to have any part in causing another man to stumble. And it really changed their perception of the way they dressed.
Yeah, it seems like from you asking about how you can be a better dad to the open communication you've had with your daughters, that really a big part of being a good dad for you, Aaron, has been just good communication, it sounds like.
That's success in anything, whether it be your business, the dialogue with your wife or with your children, or in this communication with me and you. Communication's paramount.
In Father Nation, Aaron Walker's website, viewfromthetop.com. And Aaron, you're a businessman, and I was wondering if you see many parallels between being a entrepreneur, businessman, and being a dad.
Well, it's paying attention to the details. And it's that way whether you're raising children, whether you're trying to be a good husband, or whether you're trying to run a successful business. If you stick your head in the sand and you don't pay attention to the details, you're going to miss something. So I would just suggest pay attention to the details.
And Aaron, one last thing before we go. Is there anything that you'd like to give Father Nation as far as like a final takeaway?
Well, what I would like to do is give you a little gift. Is that okay, Jesse, if I give your listeners a gift?
For sure.
Okay, I've created a landing page, viewfromthetop.com/Father Nation, all in lowercase. Viewfromthetop.com/Father Nation. What I'd like to give you are 3 documents that I've written. I've taken the price off of them. There's no charge to you. One is a personal assessment. You can look deep into yourself and realize exactly who you are based on your identity, your ideals, your needs, your career, your faith, your family. Really look deep into yourself. The next document is what do I want? Live a life proactive. There's a 3-page document, about 30 questions. You can design a life on purpose. The third document, once you discover who you are and what you want, is steps to a productive day. It's kind of a to-do list on steroids, Jesse. You go through at the very beginning of the day and you do the exact essentials that you need to do each and every day. And this document holds you accountable for obtaining that. So I'm going to give those to your audience. I'd love for you to go there. If you want to know more about the community, go to my website, viewfromthetop.com. For $37 a month, you can be involved with me on a weekly basis. You can get all the resources, the encouragement, the accountability that you could ever want, or you could participate in our Iron Sharpens Iron mastermind groups. So those are the 3 things that I'm working on right now that's terribly exciting, and I welcome you to come to the site and visit. And Jesse, you've been a great host. I want to thank you for having me on. It's been very enjoyable.
Yeah, Aaron, thank you for coming on. Again, Father Nation is viewfromthetop.com/Father Nation. And again, also Father Nation, check out the new Father Nation radio network on the live365.com network. Listen to Dad Talk 24/7. We've got a few new shows out. We've got Mr. Dad with Armin Brott, talking about positive parenting. We also got Christopher Lewis's new show, The Dad Spotlight, as well as Devin Bandison's Fatherhood is Leadership, all on the Father Nation Radio Network. Again, Father Nation Radio Network, live365.com, and of course, viewfromthetop.com/Father Nation. So dads, get out there, live a life of success, but also significance, and check out Aaron's website. It sounds like some great stuff to think through and process. Today's show is brought to you by the Cash Flow Freedom University. Ben Leibovich, who's been a guest on this program several times, is an accomplished entrepreneur, author, and real estate investor. In his Cash Flow Freedom University, Ben delivers comprehensive yet affordable financial literacy and real estate investing education. Having been able to secure his family's financial future, Ben teaches us the core concepts, tools, and techniques that have enabled his success, and can yours. Hundreds of people have benefited from Ben's Cash Flow Freedom University. If your family's financial future is a concern for you today, perhaps it's time to take a look at Ben Leibovich's Cash Flow Freedom University. For more information, visit fathernation.com, head on over to the products page.